This capsule hotel experience takes place in the city of Kyoto. Now in Kyoto, I found a place called 9 Hours Hotel. I use the app booking.com and that works perfectly fine in Japan. Now as for the capsule hotel itself, I noticed immediately that things were a little different. One example, I had to take off my shoes the instant I got into the door, but I'll get back to that in a second. Now I did not make a reservation. I wanted to get a capsule on the day, and they said that was totally fine. It'll just be $50. Now I was totally down for that, and they looked confused and said, no, okay, you don't understand. If you make a reservation online, it will be cheaper. So I went on my phone, and sure enough, it was $11 cheaper. Now these guys had their own app, which made it tremendously easier to make the reservation. Now before we go any further, I'm going to point out a few rules and guidelines that these capsule hotels have. Number one, take off your shoes in the entryway. That's a pretty common custom there in Japan. They want you to walk around in slippers instead of your dirty shoes. Number two, do not lose your key. Now, if you don't have a modern key and they give you one of these ones that goes around your wrist, it's a $20 fine if you lose it. Number three, this place is for sleeping. This is not a place to sit around and chit-chat. Usually they will not let you into the building until around 4 p.m. And number four, men and women's sections are separated. Number five, checkouts at 10 a.m. and this is probably my favorite rule when it comes to capsule hotels. Just to give you an example of what the capsule hotel keys look like, this is a modern key that I stayed in while I was in Tokyo, and this is one that goes around your wrist that the other half of the capsules have. Now, the physical key is for the locker, the number on the wristband is for the locker number, and as well as your capsule number itself. Another perk of making a reservation ahead of time is a free meal. Now, not all of them offer this, but if you do, here's an example of a meal ticket I got. Don't lose it. Now back to 9 Hours Hotel. This place gave me a physical key for the shoebox. Just to give you a tour of what this place looks like, they have 9 different levels. The red represents for women only, black for men. Now I was going to show you the locker room, but because people were changing and showering in there, I did not feel comfortable filming in there. But to give you an idea of how big the actual locker was, this is my bag that I used while I was traveling over in Japan. I was barely able to squeeze this in there. It was 2.5 feet high and 14 inches on its thinnest. Usually I would also be able to squeeze my little backpack on top of that, but not always. Don't carry anything bigger than this. Now here are the capsules. They're stacked on top of one of each other. There's little steps to climb up on the ones on top. You have a little screen on the end if you want some privacy. They're all numbered, so it's not too hard to find your own capsule. Now before I get to the capsule itself, I want to point out that there is only one outlet in there. And if you want to charge anything more than just your phone, I recommend you get a multi-USB charger adapter. As for the capsule, I wasn't able to stretch out my arms horizontally, but I was able to climb up on my knees really comfortably. Inside was a pillow, sheets of blankets, a clock with an alarm, a light switch, an outlet like I mentioned earlier, and some little cubbies on the side to store your phone and Wi-Fi device. Now, one thing I did notice right away when I was about to fall asleep is that pillow you see there is made out of beans. Yeah, and at first I was like, what the heck is this? But after a couple minutes of laying on it, it actually wasn't that bad, and it was actually quite comfortable. Here's an example of a capsule hotel I stayed in Tokyo. As you can see, it's pretty similar. Those are the screens I'm talking about. The only difference is here is it had some air conditioning in it. I do want to point out that they do have TVs in them for like a $10 extra, but totally up to you if you want to watch some Japanese TV. Moving on. So what can we take away from all of this? Well, the first thing is if you want a cheaper price for your capsule, make sure you reserve online and ahead of time. Number two, travel light. There was an instance where I was not able to fit my little backpack inside that locker, and I was forced to sleep with it inside my capsule. Thirdly, make a plan. They kick you out of there at 10 a.m. and usually will not let you back in until 4 p.m. All I have left to say is good luck. Now that you've mastered the art of Japanese capsule hotels, you are free to go about and explore the world around you. I would have to say my favorite aspect about Japan was all the little things. The grass was green, the rain was wet, but it was all about how the people there projected their passions and views that was just so different than what I was used to. Some capsule hotels have spas and baths in them that are complimentary to the guests staying in them. Some have restaurants that are exclusive to the guests. There's a lot of options out there, but obviously 30 and 40 bucks is a lot cheaper than 80 bucks a night. I hope you liked this how-to video. Next, I will be making a guide on how to navigate through the confusing train and subway system here in Japan. A travel guide to the major cities.
This clock is one of the biggest electric clocks in Japan.
And also how to get the best food experience on your stay here.